Happy Friday, everybody. TGIF, and welcome to Cocktails and Conversations here on the Uplift. So glad that you stopped in to spend some time with me this Friday night. What I can tell you is this: you guys like to crack open a cocktail on a Friday night, because if you took part in our poll that we had going on Instagram, we had a selection from our book. If you're a first timer here, watch some other episodes, because this one was particularly interesting. It's based on a cocktails, a still life, creative collaboration that includes the most beautiful paintings of cocktails and the history of the cocktail along with the recipe. Now, I posed to you on Instagram, select your cocktail of the evening as we go into our conversation topic, which we will in a minute. So here were the choices: a sidecar, which apparently not a lot of people even know what that is; a French 75, which turned out to be the winner, or a Cosmopolitan, which had very few votes. So the winner by far was the French 75, except for my one friend, Carrie, who was the sidecar vote that came in. She's from Florida. So thank you for being the standout in that category. Little bit about the cocktail before we create it, and then we go on to our conversations. The French 75. Now, this book is available on Amazon. It is written by a friend of mine, Todd M. Casey, and his collaborators that are outlined in the description box. The French 75 hits with remarkable precision. That's all that Harry Craddock, author of the 1930s Savoy cocktail book, had to say about this potent drink. Yes, you voted for this. Which is said to be named after a piece of World War I artillery. Now, there's considerable debate, as the author of the history outlines for us, how to make the drink. Sometimes it is served in a straightforward champagne flute, which is the way I am going to imbibe in it this evening, and other times it's served in a Collins glass over ice, the way the book and the art detail it. Okay, so remember last Friday when we talked about honoring ourselves by pulling out things that were important to us, by honoring ourselves with good crystal opposed to a paper cup, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I don't have a really nice long Collins glass, not one that's sufficient for this cause. So I selected my barware of choice, because we talked about this book having such exquisite barware, kind of escalating the experience of a cocktail on something as soothing as a Friday night. So to make the cocktail, its contents contain gin, lemon juice, simple syrup, and it is shaken and poured into your glass of choice. Now, I'm pouring mine off on the side so I don't see any drips or anything. And you can hear my, all right, so here we go. Once it's in the glass, what you're doing is you're adding and topping off with your champagne. Yes, my friends, you picked them well. That's all I could say. I myself voted for the Cosmopolitan, so it shows you what a lightweight I am. Dressed with a lemon peel, put into a classic, beautiful, lovely glass. You're on your way to enjoy your Friday night. Now, the conversation part comes to play. I told you last Friday, Cocktails and Conversations began with this book. It made me contemplate about why my beverages don't look upscale the way this book kind of outlines it. I said to myself, geez, maybe I should start to treat myself better, crack something open and put it into and I told the joke that over the last weekend, I was drinking I had cherry soda out of a wine glass and people thought that it was a cocktail, but there I had my candles lit and everything. So this weekend's theme and episode is based on a song that I heard, and it is by Cole Swindell. Now, some of you may already know him. I located him, kind of fell into him when he was appearing on one of the morning talk shows over the weekend, maybe a year or two ago. And this is when the song that I'm referring to first came out. Now, the song is entitled Break Up in the End. It's basically a tale, and take these off. It's basically a tale of the story of a relationship and a love that ended up not going so well. And he tells the story of how he would still do it again. And there's one line in the song that says, even if you came to be my worst or best mistake, I'd still go back and get you to do it all over again, even though we break up in the end. So I walked away from that song and I played it and played it and played it. It's beautiful when you look it up. And I'd like for you to look it up after this broadcast ends, because I want you to sit with your dream beverage in your quiet candlelit or white light background and really contemplate what we're about to talk to for the next few minutes. And that's do-overs. We're going to be talking about do-overs this weekend, tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday, because they're very layered. And I find, and you probably do too, when you're talking to people, especially about their past, oh my goodness, if I could go back and do it again. And I kind of had this song in my mind when I was doing this thing. What is a worst mistake? And what is a best mistake? I could fill in the blank for that worst mistake scenario really easily, as I think that most people probably can who are listening to this. But what was your best mistake? Something maybe that you did that you didn't plan to, that ended up changing the course of everything, a relationship that you had. This doesn't have to be in a romantic sense. A lot of people do take it when we talk about do-overs to that degree, but this could be jobs. These could be pathways. These could be life decisions. These could be where you ended up choosing to live, if you went to college, if you didn't go to college, etc. All those kind of fork in the road moments that we have. Those are the do-overs I'd like you to think about and consider this weekend. When was your first do-over? When I was thinking about this, mine was very, very young in my life. Kind of, I think, a decision that I made that I saw corrected the path that I went down. The way that you've treated people sometimes, that could be a do-over. Relationships and friendships that have gone awry. How many of those kind of do-overs do you have? How many do-overs do you have that you say, you know what? I should have quarantined myself from a toxic personality or an unfulfilling job or a life situation where you weren't being honored. Those are kind of do-overs too, aren't they? I had some notes that I want to make sure I didn't miss. If you could do it all again, would you change anything? I'm pausing for a reason, because that's a really heavy question. Are there parts of your life you would do again? Or if someone gave you the choice and said it's all or nothing, you have to redo everything if you choose to do it over. You can't pick and choose. Carry over, oh, this worked, I'll take this with me, but that's the only thing back there over on the left that I want to change. That's not the rule of the game. first question to ask yourself tonight: if someone gave you the opportunity to do this whole story again, would you? If someone said you could have one do-over, what would it be? And would that do-over impact the outcome for where you are right now? Different layers of questions. I'm not telling you which topic, which sector to pick. I'm allowing you to put some thought into this because everyone has a different moment. Everyone has a different fork. Everyone has a different sector that they would change and perhaps not necessarily another. So I'm not talking about relationships solely. I'm talking about all of your tiny, tiny life choices that massaged you on the path that you found yourself walking, which led you here. Is pain and disappointment useful to you? I stumbled on that as a quote when I was trying to find our quote of the day that I'm going to close with in a little while. How much pain and disappointment have you had in your life? And are you happy that you had it because it taught you something greater than what going through it did? Is it useful for you? Did it build warning signs in your life? Did it help you notice red flags to avoid and pitfalls in the road? Were your do-over moments learning experiences, or do they remain in your heart as regrets? There's a difference there if you think about it. I'm throwing a lot of heavy stuff because, my goodness, this is going to sit you in the chair for a while. So I'll give you something to think about. Identify your strongest do-over. Put on that song, Break Up in the End. Listen to the words. Listen to the melody is outstanding and very lyrical, but listen to the words and ask yourself, okay, I can sincerely identify at this point in my life. Just at this point, you may be young in listening to this. You may be my age in listening to this. At this point in your life, it's pretty clear what our worst mistake was. But what was your best one? That is the question of the night. Quote of the day. And this is kind of in play with what you'll think about this weekend and what you should counterbalance it with. To be upset over what you don't have is to waste what you do. With that thought, I leave you with your little bit of imbibement, whether alcoholic or non. Thank you for participating in the poll. Thank you for tuning into this Cocktails and Conversation on the Uplift. I'm so happy you came for the ride. I hope you stay for the journey and tune in tomorrow and Sunday as we continue our conversation. Put some thought into this, guys. Crack open a notebook, light a candle, start really doing the inventory to see the magic of how you got where you are. I will see you tomorrow. Take care.